Guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in the retail world, specifically in the boutique retail world. What does that mean? It means everything essentially outside of big box retail. So think wireless retail, AV, appliances. These are essentially specialty shops that don't cater to the majority, right? It's specific to a niche. Appliances, obviously appliances, AV, audio visual. You're talking home theater solutions. You're talking, outdoor entertainment, uh, distributed audio throughout the house, or more specifically, things like wireless retail, which a lot of us are a little bit more familiar with. There's probably a lot of us more that work in that industry than any other one because it's ubiquitous, right? Wireless is everywhere. There's physical retail stores, they're in big box retail locations. Surprisingly, they're typically not owned by big box retail. It's a third party company that works within the retail location. So there's a lot of differences, there's a lot of different nuances that go into that. A lot of this is for us working in those industries. It's not just the physical products that we sell, but it's also the services that come along with the products. Typically, the services are more important than the actual physical product. And as a leader, especially a sales leader, when you're working with these people, we're talking commission salespeople that are going through and trying to make a living, wanting to get better. And you might feel that you just don't have the support as a leader to be able to lead your people to true success. Or you're wondering what's missing, why your people aren't growing, why they're not getting it. And I'm here to tell you that it's not your people, it's you and the organization. It's a hard pill to swallow. Well, we're successful. It's not that you've been growing. Anybody can grow, right? It's the issues that arise from growth. I've grown from an organization that was sub 200 locations when I came on board. And when I left, we had just finished an acquisition of 75 locations and brought them on board. And I think we were just shy of like 750 stores at that point. Okay. And I've created training material that was used across the nation. I've created recruiting, hiring, interviewing guidelines that helped smooth the process, bring people on board faster, and also be able to help people stay longer as a new hire and get performance to change. It's not your people. It's the systems, or really more importantly, the lack of systems that you have or don't have within the organization. And a lot of people are wondering, well, they should just get it. They should just come in and be able to do this. It's just talking to people. It's not talking to people, right? That's the basic, and that's what we all do. It's getting our people comfortable doing the actual job. And you do that by training, developing, and coaching. And coaching is the most important thing. Coaching is not, I'm going to write you up if you don't perform. That is not coaching. A write up and coaching are two separate things. A lot of people get those mistaken. They think, well, if I write them up, that was coaching. We had a discussion, and they're either going to perform or they're going to leave the organization. And you wonder why your fucking churn rate for employee attrition is so horrible. It's not that you can't find people to work, it's that there's a lot more on the back end that you need to have set up so that you don't have such an issue bringing people on board and retaining those people. It literally costs you more money, more time and effort to hire somebody in than it is to retain your employees, especially if those employees are tenured and they have, I'm talking more than months, right? They have years of experience. What's worse is, especially if you have leaders, right? You have people that you've brought on board, they've been with the organization for a while, they have a want to grow, and you put them in a leadership role only for them to fall flat on their face and fail, and you have to demote them. You have had a conversation with them. You either step down or we're going to have to let you go. So they step down, and then they come back up again, and the same thing happens, and then they step down again. That is not an issue with the employee. That is an issue with the organization, because obviously the organization cannot and has not been able to find a way to train and develop the employees that they have that want to grow within the organization and do something more. I want somebody that has the want for that position because I can train the skills. I can help them develop those skills. And that's the way you need to see it. It's not, well, they've been with the organization for years. They know what that role, nobody knows what that role is until they step into the role. You can try to develop them as much as you can. And by giving them not just developmental skills, giving them an actual path forward, but also giving them the ability to step into that role in small chunks, small pieces. What I used to do when I would go on vacation, before I would go on vacation, it was I would actually have these conversations with some of my top leaders in my districts and let them know, like, hey, I'm going to be out. I want you to kind of step in and be able to help out with this. But before I do that, I want to make sure you have a better understanding. So we're going to go through a few things. I'm going to have you lead some of this stuff. I'm going to show you what some of this stuff is. So I would essentially sit them in my seat and give them an understanding of what we're doing in this role. So not only have I shown them a lot of the skills and helped them train, but I've also given them an insight into what it is that I do by helping to shadow me. And that gives them a much better way forward because they actually have a better understanding of what the role is, what the position is. For your sellers, it's essentially the same thing. When you bring somebody new on board, you still need to showcase, you still need to train them to move forward. It is not about, okay, 2 weeks in, you've done all your e-learnings, figure it out on the floor. You're going to learn as you go. No, they will learn, but they're going to be a lot better prepared if you focus on creating training and development for them and you also give them coaching. You help them to self-identify where some of those um, traits or skills that they need to improve on are and where they're already doing good in so that they can continue doing that. And that's what it means to be a coach, right? But if you're wondering, hey, my coaching isn't working, what can I do? Why is it not working? Why is it not sticking? There's three mistakes we're going to talk about today that kill performance if it's done. So we're going to talk about what we can do to move away from that, to focus on creating skills, doing coaching sessions that actually matter and help our people to do better and help us become better leaders because we owe it to our people to do that. When you become a great leader, even just improving your leadership skills a little bit through coaching, you are going to be surprised how much headaches are removed, how many less fire drills you have to run. And your team is going to be much happier. So if you talk about culture, I'll tell you this right now, you got no culture. When you don't need to talk about culture, you got culture built. And that's the important thing. And coaching helps to do that. Uh, Now, if you're coaching every week, but your team still sucks, they still regress. They still have those fundamental issues. They're not hitting the right KPIs. You still catch yourself doing fire drills. It's not your team. It's not your sellers. It's not your reps. They're the issue. It's your coaching system. There's something wrong. Or maybe you're not doing something. Okay. So let's talk about that. Coaching isn't about you talking more, it's about changing behavior. You're not here to tell your people, do this, do this, do this. No, you're here to help them change their behaviors and become better sellers, become better at the craft of salesmanship. Okay. And that's what we need to lead them because we don't want them making the same mistakes. If they're making the same mistakes, I can tell you right now that you are talking too much. You're telling them instead of helping to guide and mentor them during those coaching sessions. Now, what do you mean I'm talking too much and guiding too little? If your coaching session sounds more like a lecture, like you telling them, like, hey, this is where you're deficient, these are the numbers that you're missing, this is what you need to hit, this is what you need to do. I know it sounds great from your perspective because you're the one telling them this. And I get it. I've been in that seat where I can have a better understanding because I'm looking at the bigger picture. And it's like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to focus on. These are the items that are your, you know, that you need to take ownership of. But by me telling them, I'm killing their ownership. They're not taking ownership of everything because it's, well, Omar told me this. Omar said, this is what I needed to do. This is what he said. It's not coming internally. It's not something that they are taking responsibility for, taking ownership for. And that's a big thing. That's a big miss that a lot of new and even veteran leaders have because it's not something that was developed for them. They are still learning, right? You might have a good flow with certain teams because, hey, they already have something like this. They have somebody in their team that actually does this, but they don't know exactly what it is. Building a system and having a coaching system means being aware of the actions that are taking, as well as the words and how those words are said. That's very important. Okay. So, first thing you should do, this is the first takeaway. In your next coaching session, pay attention to how much you're talking, how much you're saying. I know it kills us when there's silence. Shut the fuck up, let them talk, and you listen. So focus on you only speaking maybe about 20% of the time. Ask more, talk less. So ask more questions and tell them less. Don't tell them what to do. And if you're wondering, well, how can I do that? What's a simple way for me to get them? Because it's so aggravating. I want them to say this. I want them to do this. Okay. So don't tell them. Ask them. Pull it out of them. How? Ask them this one question after you've asked your question. Okay. The follow-up that you're going to ask is what else? And shut up. What else? There's a very good psychological trick behind that. But when you say what else after they give you a response, especially if it's a bullshit response, just to try to get you to shut up, where you need to get more meat on the bone with your conversations, your coaching sessions. If it's just something that's superficial and you're like, this is what no, you say, okay, I like that concept. What else? Shut up. That 5, 10 second silence at first is going to feel very, very long and it's going to be uncomfortable. And it's going to get them to say more. And they're going to start talking more about, okay, well, I would do this too. All right, what else? And you want to use the what else question about 3 to 5 times. When they really can't and they're truly, truly struggling to come up with something else, it's done. We don't want to badger it 10, 20. No. 3, 5 times is pushing it. Three typically is a sweet point. And you move on. Because at that point, they have to go through and do the mental gymnastics to really visualize what's going on and picture themselves doing it. And they've kind of gotten everything that they have within them out. So it's very easy to be able to say, okay, this is actually what we need to do, right? Because if they are still struggling, then you know, okay, we need to focus a little bit more. We need to develop this a little bit more. So that's one thing. Talk less, ask more questions. That's the first step. Now, the other thing that you need to do is if you don't have a rhythm, okay, if you don't have a coaching rhythm, it's just randomness. You're not inspecting what you expect of your people. They don't know when the next time I'm going to meet with you is, when the next time we're going to have a coaching session is. We were supposed to have it last week, something came up and we haven't had it yet. If you've ever been, because even as a DM, an area manager, or regional, if you've ever been in that position, you know what it's like. It fucking sucks. You have this meeting we need to do, and it gets postponed, pushed. Oh, I forgot about it. It makes you feel like shit. It really does. So don't do that to your people. Stick to some type of schedule. As a DM, as an area manager, I get it. It's sometimes very difficult for us to be at the location every single week. Most of the time, we're going to be at a location 3 to 5 times in a month, right? Depending on how many locations you have. So this is why it's important for you to develop your leaders, your local leaders. You got to coach your coaches, train your trainers. Because when they start doing coaching sessions, they can do it more often and they see their people more often. So they know the behaviors a little bit more. So they can be better at this. But still, as a DM, as an area manager, you need to make sure that you inspect what you expect and have this on the schedule. Whenever you do store visits, make sure this is top of mind. This is one of the most important things you can do. That way, your team knows I have a schedule. Don't do it whenever you feel like it needs to be done. Don't do it because, okay, yeah, it feels right to do it right now. your numbers have been sucking. Even when numbers are good, you should still do a coaching session as a check-in session, see how things are going. And that's very important. Okay. It's becoming a system when it's systematic, when you have a routine with it. If you don't, and you're just doing it willy-nilly whenever, it's a stall tactic. Your people feel like you're only doing this because they suck, because you're about to fire them, because you're about to write them up. And that's what you want to move away from. You don't want them to feel that way. You want them to understand, okay, he does this with everybody. She does this with everybody. It's a coaching session. It's not a bad thing. It's to help us develop. It's to help us to become better. Because when you tell your people, I want you to make more money and I also want you to work less. I want you to make more by working less. Who in their right mind is going to come back and tell you, I don't want to work less. I want to work more and I want to make less. Nobody is going to tell you that. Okay. Because they themselves do not want to feel like an idiot and they don't want to be called out in front of everybody and be made to feel like an idiot. Because who else doesn't want to work less and make more? That's a beautiful thing about working in sales because you have that commission structure, you have that bonus structure. And that's why we're there. We enjoy some of the product that we're working with, right? I was very surprised when I found out I really, really love AV stuff. Um, if you're watching the podcast, you can kind of see over to my left. You can't, if you're watching me on TikTok, you're not able to. Uh, but I was very surprised when I found out I actually like yes, I love music. Everybody does. Okay. I'm gonna just put that out there. But the nuances on the equipment, yeah, that receiver you see right there, that's a $6,000 piece of receiver. I was very surprised when I was like, yeah, there's a big difference between that and that $800 receiver. And I can speak to it. I can showcase it, but more importantly, I can paint the picture without even having to play anything to my clients and customers. That's what we want to get our people to. And oftentimes they end up enjoying a lot of what they're doing and they find a passion for it. That's a beautiful thing. Yes, I'm, working 40 hours or so, and I'm making more than some people that make 60. That's the beautiful thing. You need to understand that we hire people for a reason. We're not hiring people just to see who's going to work out best and fire the rest. If that's your mindset, you suck. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. People don't want to work for companies that suck. That's very important to understand. So, as a leader, you don't want to be like that. You want to make sure you're doing everything possible so that your team knows they're doing everything they can to be to make us as successful as possible. Because if we're successful as a team, my leader is successful. That's how they measure their success. So that's very, very important. Uh, now, the other thing, right? So first, we talked about it, talk less, ask more. The second thing, have a system, have a routine when it comes to your coaching sessions. When you do your store visits, everybody knows, cool, they're here. We're going to do a coaching session. Don't do group coaching sessions, right? These coaching sessions are really designed to be individual. You can do group trainings, but to be very effective coaching, individual coaching sessions is really the best way to do it. Now, the third thing you want to do is you want to avoid on coaching towards metrics. You want to focus on behaviors. Let me say that again. Avoid coaching to metrics. Coach on behaviors. And the reason is when you come into a meeting, a coaching session, you tell somebody, yeah, your goal, what you need to focus on is you need to hit 10 activations. That's not a coaching session. You're just telling me something. And one, you've already taken away my ownership. So I'm not owning that. That's what you're telling me to hit. So, okay, I'm going to tell you yes. And I'm going to say, well, I tried doing everything I could to hit it, but it didn't happen. Right. And that's typically what happens often. So we want to move away because that's telling. That's not giving guidance. That's not helping to build habits. That's not preparing you for the future. That's not doing anything. That's kind of like the coach. Say you're playing basketball. That's the coach telling you, all right, all you got to do is you got to hit a layup on this one. but you've never taught them to do a layup and you just hire them. You just brought them on a team 2 weeks ago and they've never played. They played baseball before. They played a sport, right? And that's what I mean. Move away from telling people. Ask more questions because that helps you to find out more about where they're currently at, the current mindset. It helps you to help them develop themselves as well because they now start taking ownership of the things that they're saying they're going to do. And people naturally do not want to be liars. I don't care who you think they are, who you think you are. Nobody wants to lie. Nobody wants to be a liar. They want to follow through with the commitments that they're making, with the things that they're saying they're going to do. And you, as a leader, need to help develop the behaviors to make sure your team can do that. So instead of telling them what metrics or how many of a metric they need to hit, how many units of a metric, teach them how. Give them the basics, drill the basics. I don't care if the employee's been there for a year or two, focus on the basics. You'd be surprised how often sometimes we get stuck in our own heads and we start trying to get fancy with things and forget the basics and wonder why, whoa, what the hell's going on? Like I'm missing a lot of these opportunities. Like I'm not closing them like I used to. I don't know what's going on. We're moving away sometimes from a lot of the basics. When you move back to the basics, you have the foundations. You can focus on the foundations. Yeah, you can do some fancy stuff with that, but focusing on the foundations goes a long way. So focus on and coach on those behaviors. If you're wondering, well, what's an easy way to do this? Like I don't know how. Hey, go to the link in the bio, whether you're watching it on TikTok, whether you're watching it on the podcast, on any of the videos. It's either the link in the bio or the link in the video description. Grab it. That's a 15-minute framework. It's going to take you a long way. Why? Because it helps you to develop those habits there. You're going to learn visualization tactics, right? It's a simple framework. It's a simple one sheet page, but that template will guide you through the process from goal setting, action items, which are the visualization aspect, and the commitment section. And that's going to help you to develop the coaching aspect. What do they need to focus on? And it's super effective. It goes a long way. It's helped me transform people that never had a sales background, turn them into sellers that were outperforming veteran employees. It's helped me to reinvigorate districts that were underperforming and increase the production over 100%. And I'm not talking over years. I'm talking about this production was almost immediate. Why? Because now they have somebody who gives a damn and they want to perform because they have somebody who's investing their time and energy in wanting them to become better. And as a leader, that's you. So be earnest about it. Be proud of being a leader that wants to develop their people, that wants something better for their people. And that's going to go a long way. So, guys, I'll leave it there, right? We talked about what we could do as a leader to really become better and things to avoid when it comes to coaching. So remember, talk less, ask more questions, have a routine, have a system, okay? Make sure you schedule those and are consistent with it. And coach on behaviors, not metrics. Those three are going to take your leadership, your coaching level to that next step. So, guys, thank you once again for taking time, spending it with us here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.